Hi everybody, welcome back. This is my latest project. I was asked to do a project, guest design team project for Country Craft Creations, which I've mentioned many times on my channel. It's my favorite store for buying this kind of thing. And the paper line is Authentique's Quest. It's a travel theme. And this is the project that I came up with, and I have a tutorial which is to follow. I just want to do a little flip through so you can see what we're going to be making. It's an interesting project, but it's also quite simple. A beginner could make it, I think, without any trouble. So that's the cover. It's the spine. You can see it's quite a wide spine. And there's the back. And the reason that it's a wide spine, you can see here, I think, is there's actually two books. This little book is attached to the larger book with magnets. It just pops out. And the idea is that you would take this little book with you on your trip, and when you come back, you can pop it back in there, and you can have all your pictures from your trip in the bigger book. And we'll look at the little one in a minute. So we just have, this is a tuck spot, and I'm going to leave that out to show you some others. And this is also a tuck spot in this flap. There are 4 side pocket inserts. They're all the same. Just a little belly band, small pocket. These are some of the cut aparts. Again, a tuck spot here, an accordion pocket here, so you can put some of your travel pictures and memorabilia in there. A horizontal belly band, a little stopper here, a double flap, and this is just a pocket. And then we have a waterfall with a belly band closure. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite a simple book. It's not that hard to do. Again, like I said, I think even a beginner could do it. The spine's just a little tricky to make sure you leave enough room for the book, but it's not hard. All right, and then let's look at the little book. And in addition to the Quest from Authentique, we've also used navy and craft cardstock from Country Craft Creations. So this little book, the idea is that you would take it with you and make little notes, or maybe put sprocket type pictures in it, some of the little portable printer pictures on each day. And I made it, I didn't put a lot of fuss in it, so you could just throw it in your purse and have it handy. And another little pocket in the back, and some tags these are graphic 45 tags. And then, as you can see, there's not really any embellishment on the outside because you want to be able to throw this in your bag and not catch anything. All right, and then there are some magnets on the back under the mats, and then there's magnets here, so the whole thing just pops on, and it's quite sturdy, it stays. And that's about it. So close this up and we will get started with the tutorial. I hope you'll make one. Okay, let's get started. We have 2 covers to make for this album, and since I'm not particularly fond of making covers, I always make them first, get them out of the way. So we're going to do the small cover first, and this is a soft cover, and in order to make it we need a piece 9 by 5 3/4. This is what's going to wrap the book. This one's actually cut 6. I left myself a little cushion because I've got that Fiskars cutter that folds at the 6-inch mark. So anything between about 5 1/2 and 6 1/4, you're dicey. So I cut it extra. I figure I can trim it later. All right, so let me move that. So you've got a piece 9 by 5 3/4 tall, or 6. And what you need to do is take your ruler, and I hope you can see this on camera, but I've made a 1-inch mark, 1.5 inch mark across the bottom. So lay the 1/2 inch from your ruler and just make a line. These lines are just to help you line up your cardstock. Then you need 2 lines in the middle with 3/4 of an inch in between. So in order to get that, you're going to lay your ruler across the edge and make a mark at 4 1/8 and 4 7/8. Turn around, do the same thing again. You're going to mark 4 1/8 and 4 7/8. Then join those with a pencil line. Okay, so now you have a couple of right angles with 3/4 between in order to help you lay down your card, all right? And in order to make the book, you need 2 pieces of lightweight card, which is like a cracker box or a cereal box or something like that, that are 4 3/4 by 3 5/8. All right, so 2 of those. And then you need, preferably you want to cut these, by the way, from the same box because not all of them use the same weight. I'm just trying, because these are actually cut from 2 different boxes. You can see they're not the same color. But that's what I had, so that's what I'm going with. Then you need 2 pieces of Tyvek that are 2.5 by 5.5. Tyvek is the same as house wrap, so if you have access to that. It's also what's used in a lot of mailing envelopes. It's kind of a slippery, fibrous paper, and it's very tough. I purchased a little package of it on Amazon, not very expensive. But you can find it a lot of places. You might have an envelope lying around your house made out of it. So you need 2 pieces of that, 2.5 by 5.5. Now, we need to transfer or make the same sort of marks on our Tyvek that we did on the spine here. So to do that, because this is 2.5, get rid of that, 2.5 inches wide, you need to do the same thing. So you're going to come here. Half of 2.5 is 1 1/4, and you need 3/8 on either side. So you can make a mark at 7/8, right, and at 1 5/8. Right, turn around. This is exactly how we did it on the cardstock. So 7/8 and 1 5/8. And then you're going to join the 2 lines. It's a little tricky for me. I can't quite see it. That looks about straight. It's hard to draw on Tyvek. It doesn't take a pencil line too well. But don't worry if you can't, as long as you can see it. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we're going to put some tape on the back of this piece of Tyvek, score tape. You can use, if you have the score tape sheets, that would be perfect for this. I've never done this with liquid glue. I assume you could use it. If you like liquid glue, you know, by all means, use whatever adhesive you have and like to use. The only thing I would not recommend using is a glue stick. Glue sticks don't really stand the test of time. This is 1 inch score tape. Be careful when you're using score tape that you don't stretch it. It's easy to sort of stretch and distort your piece that way. Okay, and then I'm just going to take, if you had a 1/2 inch piece, that would be perfect, but I don't, so actually I might, I'm just not, no, I don't see one. All right, so I'm going to use 3/8. It'll be fine. All of this is going to be covered with more adhesive down the road. All right, there we go. Now, after you've applied score tape, you always want to burnish it really well. Get the bone folder or some other tool. Okay. And now I'm going to peel the back off of the score tape. So, all right, now this piece is just slightly shorter than this piece, just to make it a little easier to fold when the time comes. Can't really see the top, but we're going to hope for the best. Oh my goodness, I got that crooked. Well, it is what it is. We'll live with it. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? And this is maybe what would be easier for you to do anyway, is I can still see the line here, and I can see the line there on the cardstock, so I'm just going to redraw the lines on my Tyvek to make up for the fact that I put it down crooked. All right, so if you want, you could just wait to draw the lines and just do it this way. Probably be easier than what I did the first time. Okay, so now I'm going to use this line and this line. And you're going to take your piece of card, in my case, an ice cream cone box, because that's how my house rolls, and you're going to surround it with score tape, the perimeter. Now you could, if you've got the score tape sheets or plenty of score tape, you know, go ahead and score tape the whole thing. But usually what I do is just the perimeter, and then I'm going to use a liquid glue in the middle. So how do I take these off? Well, that's being stubborn. Usually that means it hasn't been burnished down well enough. Okay. That. And all right, and I am going to use Fabri-Tac for the middle. Again, use whatever adhesive you like. You just want to make sure you get this well secured with no bubbles. Although even if you get a bubble, don't panic, because you're going to be matting it so you won't see it. All right, so be generous, but not, you know, don't soak it. All right. And now we are going to lay our piece of card along the bottom at that mark and line it up to the vertical mark we made on the tie back. And if you have to fudge it, like if it's not perfect on the line down here and on here, this is the line you want to be on, because this is your spine. So you want to make sure that is straight and even. Down here is no big deal, it's just where it's going to wrap over. Okay. And burnish. Okay. And then we're going to do the other one. I'm getting that tape off. Go. Tamara at Country Craft Creations, when she makes her videos, she has a neat little tool that she got, I think, at Harbor Freight to help her lift the tape back. I should get one. I'm sure it was inexpensive. Everything at Harbor Freight is pretty inexpensive. I am not putting glue over the tape. I am only putting glue in the area where there is no tape. And as you can see, I'm using a cracker box. Again, try to use the same box for both pieces to make sure the weight's the same. But again, I'm just going with what I had. And again, we're just going to line this up. I feel like I put that down a little high. Let's see if we can get it up. Hang on, where's my roller? You really want to make sure that these are even top to bottom. Okay, there we go. That's better. And the nice thing about Fabri-Tac is it is kind of erasable if it spills out. Okay, so burnish, burnish, burnish. Okay, and then we have our second piece of Tyvek, and this is going to just go right here on top of the other two, like that. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put tape around the edges. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it in front of you so you can see how to do it. I just realized that might be a little tricky. You need to put tape here. And here. Okay. the middle here you need adhesive. You can either use your liquid, your Fabri-Tac or whatever liquid adhesive you're using, or you can use score tape, and I'm going to use score tape. And it's, so you can see, hang on. So I'm just putting tape here. I should have used the 1 inch actually, because I'm just going to cover this entire thing, I think. Should I or should I not? No, you know what, I'm just going to do my usual here. Perimeter. And perimeter. Oops. Like that. And then we're going to put tape down the middle here. This is 3/4 of an inch, so 2 3/8 inch pieces should do it. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Like that. Right, and what did I do with my bone folder? Too many pieces of tape off screen here. Okay, I'm just going to burnish that. Okay, and then we're going to take this piece and lay it like that. Okay, so let's remove the back of the tape. We don't need any Fabri-Tac on this or liquid glue because there's tape on here to make up for where there's not tape on the Tyvek. Right. And this piece is just added support for the cover. However, the binding will be attached to it through the inner cardstock, the lining. So you do want to make sure that you get it adhered well. But if it's not perfectly straight, it's definitely not a big deal. Okay. There we go, that's pretty good. And then, again, you want to burnish this really, really well. Now, if you happen to have this particular Teflon bone folder, it's 3/4 of an inch wide, so it's perfect for this burnishing here. Okay. And burnish there. And here, and I will trim this extra paper off the top before we wrap. Okay, so you want to make sure it's nice and tight here. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to trim this and then I'll be back and we'll go ahead and wrap. I did a couple of things while we were away. We had gotten to the point of attaching the cardstock. I went ahead and I put score tape all around the perimeter of both the cardstock and the background, the wrap. And I also just gently lifted and creased all 4 sides. It's a little trickier with this than it is with some of the heavier cardstocks, just because there's flex in this cover, but go ahead and do that. Just you want to get your paper trained how you want it to go when you're wrapping. Okay, now, do that. The next step you want to do is trim on the creases that you just made. You want to trim these corners out. Like that. Just cut them on the crease that you made, or slightly to the outside of the crease, because you can always trim, can't put back. See, this is still a little fat, but that's okay. going to do is you're going to fold this over, okay? And then you're going to just take and rest your scissors. Watch any of Tamara from Country Craft Creations tutorials for how to do that. Okay, so you're going to work your way around. You're going to fold in. If you rest your scissors right against your cover, you're not going to really be able to cut too much. Just trim any extra that you see off. Okay. And then just repeat the process, cutting the other side. Now, when you fold over, you'll get a nice corner, okay? So I always like to start with the long side. So I'm going to remove the back from my score tape. Like that. And then if you like, you can put, this is art glitter glue. That was a little more than I wanted, but you can just put a little bead of that along your edge. Let me just get rid of that. And just lift up and over it. Really, you want this burnished really well up against the edge of your card. You want a nice crisp edge. Okay, just fold that over like that. Okay, and okay, that looks good. And I'm going to repeat that on the other long side. Glue. Again, just up and over, and use your bone folder to make sure you get a nice crisp edge. Shorter, so I'm just going to take it all the way over. This is going to do a little test fold, just because that looks like it might need to be trimmed some. Nope, that's fine. Okay. Again, I have overdone it with the glue there. Okay. And just burnish your corners, make sure it's good. All right, here we go. Hard part's done. So gently, gently burnish these corners. You don't not want to stab right through your paper with your tool. Okay. And then we're going to gently work this a little bit and lift up. You don't want to, if you're using artisan cardstock, odds are it's not going to crack, but you still want to be careful. If you're using some other kind of cardstock, it might, so you really want to work it. And then notice there that tape lifted up slightly as I was lifting this up. Keep an eye for that. Burnish it down as it happens. And again, this is a soft cover, so you want to be a little gentle with your card. You don't want to fold it. And I'm just taking my time, gently, gently lifting that up. Don't rush this process. You do not want to be making this cover over again. Just trust me on this. Okay. All right. There we go. Match up your corners, because this is a soft cover, so it's going to have some flex. See how it's rounded? You can shape that a little with your palm. And even bend it back a little bit, bend it forward. Once you get it going, just flex it a little bit, play with it, and get it, get it moving. You want to be able to open and close this book easily. All right. And then we have a lining piece. If I can find it, it'd be all set. Okay. What did I do with the lining? Right. There we are. This is our lining. Okay, and I can give you the measurements. It is 4.5 by 7 3/4. Okay. Now, when you put this in, it's essential that it's firmly attached here, because this is where the spine is. The pages of the book are going to be attached. So what I'm going to do is get out my score tape again. And I'm going to, it doesn't have to go all the way to the edge. I'm just going to just slightly overlap the cardstock. Okay, scissors. I've mentioned in other videos that I see videos where people just have no trouble at all. Got to put the cover on my glue. Tearing score tape, and I'm sorry, I wish I could, because it would be so much faster, but every time I try to tear it, it just stretches, or it comes out messy. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and make sure you put score tape there, and again in the spine, leave a little bit of a gap. Doesn't have to be much, but just where things are turning. Oh, I didn't put that right straight, did I? Well, what I'll do is I'll pull this up. Actually, I can even do it now. Just pull that up and put the other piece, well, it just overlaps right on top of it, like that. Okay, then we're going to put score tape all around the edges of our lining piece. Against the edge. I missed a little bit there, but that's okay. I can always tuck a little glue there. Okay. And then burnish the tape. then what we're going to do, so we have tape here, we have tape all around the edges, we don't have anything here, so I'm just going to put some glue there. You can use whatever you like. You can use art glitter glue actually for that if you want. I think I'll just go ahead and use the Fabri-Tac since I have it handy. And again, I'm just putting it where there is no tape. If you've not used Fabri-Tac before, it's a good adhesive. I particularly like it for attaching flowers and things, but it does have quite a strong odor. And pretty much the only time I use it is making covers and, like I said, attaching flowers or some embellishments. Okay, oops. Out of the way. All right, let's peel up our tape. Pardon me, that's actually a tickle from the smell of that Fabri-Tac. All right, and then you are going to center this top to bottom and side to side as best you can. And, oh my goodness, I did not get that very straight, but that's all right. All of this is going to be matted. Varnish this really, really well. Okay. And then, once you've got it down and you've got it burnished, then you're again going to use your tool. Gently, do not poke a hole in it. It would be very easy to do. And just gradually lift this up again so that it's bent into shape. Wrinkle right there. Okay, all right, there we go. And again, you just want to play with it, get the spine into the shape that you like. I like a little bit of curve. Put your fingers on it. Okay, now this one you do not want to jump the gun because before you mat this, you're going to need to put magnets on the back. Okay, because that's what's going to attach it into the larger book. So decide which side you want to be the back, and then make a note or a mark or something saying magnets. Unless you're wonderful about remembering always to add your magnets, because I forget all the time. So I'm going to make myself a note that says magnets. And I'm going to attach it to what I want to be the back. Okay, and when we get back to this book, and I'm continuing to work it gently, then we will attach the magnets before we mat it. We'll probably put the pages in first and then attach the magnets. Again, I'm just gently playing with this just to keep it nice and flexible. Okay, alrighty. Let's take a little break and then we will start in on the larger cover. All right, let's make the big cover now. I've got two pieces, 8.5 by 12. You're going to have quite a bit to cut off at either end, but I like to have my spine centered in the back, or my seam centered on my spine, I should say. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a thin bead of your art glitter glue or score tape. One atop the other, make this as thin as you can. You don't need a big seam there. And that's just a baby wipe. What I like to do is take my ruler. I've got a 1-inch fold for this cover. Just placing the 1-inch mark on my ruler along the edge and just drawing a line just to help guide when I'm placing the chipboard. And speaking of the chipboard, you're going to need two pieces, 4.5 by 6.5. And I have put score tape around the edge. If you have score tape sheets from Country Craft Creations, go ahead and put the whole sheet on. That would be great. And then I've got a spine that's 2.5 by 6.5, and again, that's fully covered with score tape. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my spine. I'll just pull off the back of the score tape. And I'm just going to loosely, or as close as I can really, center this on that seam and along the line that I drew, and just drop it into place. Okay. And burnish. All right, now for these pieces, because I do not have the full sheets of score tape, I am going to use Fabri-Tac. You can use whatever adhesive you like in the middle. That's Fabri-Tac. I'm not going where there's tape. I'm just putting the Fabri-Tac where there is no adhesive. You want to put a good amount. You don't want to soak the cardstock, but you want a generous amount. I'm just spreading it with the tip of the bottle. Just like that. And then you want to take your ruler, lay it evenly against the bottom of your... Oh, hang on, I missed a step. Get your 1/4-inch score tape. Sorry, this is actually the second time I'm making this cover. The first time, the camera wasn't running. Okay, so just lay a piece of score tape right up against your chipboard for your spine. Just like that. And okay, do that on both sides of your spine. This will help you determine your distance to place your front and back. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's better. Now you're going to lay this, your ruler, up against the bottom of the spine. You're going to take your front or back piece and lay it against that 1/4-inch tape and against your ruler. Help you get it on straight. There we go. Just like that. And we're going to repeat the procedure down here. I'm going to lay the ruler. Move the back of the score tape. sure that was down. It looked like it might not be. We have that there. Okay. And score. Okay. And flip it over. And just burnish all of this really well. All right. Now we need to cut these ends off. And I like to use scissors for it. You could use your cutter. You could even just eyeball it if you want. It's not that big a deal. Just going to put the 1 inch mark. Let me get rid of this fiber tack. We're done with that. The 1 inch mark on my ruler and draw a line. And then I'm going to repeat that at this end. This is a 1.5 inch ruler, this Tim Holtz ruler, if you have it. There we go. Side, and let's cut these. Oops. Oh my goodness, I just knocked some stuff off the table. Well, I'll get that in a minute. I have a fairly small table that I'm working on, so I'm trying to keep it as neat as I can. Sometimes when a project really gets going, my workspace just looks like a hurricane went through. Okay. All right. Here is that. Looks good. Now, we need to add tape, and we need to do some trimming. So let me show you. I like to trim off the corners first. So take the whole assembly, lift it up, keeping that lower edge against your work surface. Flip it over, and give it a crease. Use your bone folder. Be careful, you don't want to poke your bone folder through anything. Okay, just like that. I'll do the same on all 4 sides. While I'm doing the long sides here. Now, by doing that, we've creased these corners so we have a good visual, and we want to go ahead and trim out those corners. Okay. Like that. Okay. How to do this method from Tamara at Country Craft Creations. I will link, of course, the shop and the YouTube channel down below. You can watch some of her videos and see somebody who's probably more skilled at this than me. Not probably, definitely. I typically miter my corners. But sometimes when you miter, if you're not careful, you can, just not get a good corner. So I decided to give this a try, and I've done it now for a couple of books, and I kind of like it. Okay, let me stick with it. We'll see. All right, so now we've got our corners cut out. You're going to take your score tape using 3/8 inch, and you're going to go all the way around the perimeter of the cardstock and the chipboard. Okay. Here is it. All right. Now let's burnish all of our tape. Side and these two shorter sides, and I need to take the, be careful when you're doing this, if you're using a pokey tool, you don't want to poke a hole in your cover. Just want to lift this back off of this. Okay, there we go. All right, and then this, whoops. And let us take our art glitter glue. All right. And then it's going to do the same thing that we did before. I'm just going to lift up and over, just to tack it down. And go in with your bone folder. Make sure you've got a good crisp edge. Oh, you know what I did not do? Made a mistake. Okay. I did not check to make sure that these were didn't need to be trimmed. So I'm just trimming these edges. Just rest your scissors against the corner and trim as needed. Fortunately, it looks like this one looks like it might have needed to be trimmed. Hang on. There we go. That's pretty good. Okay. Right. And I'm just gently trimming these corners a little bit to make sure I don't have any overhang. I think that'll be all right. Okay, so you want to do that before we start gluing. There we go. Now it looks like it might need to be trimmed a little bit. And for detailed instructions, and again, somebody who's better at this than me, go ahead and watch any of Tamara's videos. All right, there we go. Now let's do this other long side. I don't think I've made a project yet that I haven't made some sort of mistake such as that. Don't worry about it too much at this point. It's usually fixable. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay. And let's do a short side. I didn't put any glue on the other one, but that's all right. there is our cover. Now, next step, take your foam folder or some other tool and you want to gently press down. Remember, you have adhesive here, so you want to get this paper here down into that adhesive. And gently work against the cardstock, the chipboard, excuse me, and get a good edge there. And then just gradually work the front and back. Be very careful that you do not poke through your paper with your tool. I have done that, and it is not a happy day. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Okay. All right. Okay. There we go. Make sure it lays nice and flat. Now, I don't line the entire piece here. I just usually make a piece just to cover this because this is going to be matted anyway. It's not going to be seen. But I do need a piece that's going to go here. The other thing that I need though, and I don't want to forget it, and this is the point that I'm going to go ahead because as you know, I forget things. I could even write it right on the chipboard because it's going to be covered. The inside front, let me take a look. If one side's nicer than the other and you want it to be the front, choose the front. And right, let me just slide this over slightly. Magnets. Because before I mat that, I need to put the magnets in. And I don't want to forget. Because I have forgotten in the past. Okay. So now we need to make our little lining piece. And that's going to be 6 1/4 by, I like at least 1 inch on either side. So 5, 6 1/4 by 5. All right, I'm going to cut that piece and I'll be right back. All right, I have cut the piece, and while I was away, I also did some taping. Now, this piece is slightly less than the 6 inches I told you because I ended up using one of the pieces we'd cut off of the end when we did the wrap. So it's like maybe 5 1/2. Let me see, how big is it? No, it's actually pretty narrow. It's, yeah, it's only 4 3/4, but that's still going to give me enough on either side. So if you want to save some paper, go ahead and do that. So I've put score tape on either side of the gully and across the entire spine and all the way around the perimeter of my lining piece. So now I'm just going to remove the back of the score tape. We are going to center this and try and put it on as straight as you can. That's about 1/8 of an inch. Top and bottom. That looks pretty good. I might have put it a little closer to the top than I did to the bottom, but that's fine. Gently burnish this. And then you're going to repeat the procedure for folding the covers up. Now you've got more layers, so it's going to be trickier. Make sure it's well burnished. All right. Just be really careful not to put your tool through the paper. I've only done it once, and it's just so disheartening. You go through all this, the cover is just about done. And that happens. Okay, sorry about that. My camera stopped recording for some reason, so. Well, I'm actually recording on my phone, and I think it was full. to be as careful as I can to get a good looking spine, especially towards this area, because that's actually going to be more visible than it typically is in this album. All right, there we go. And then you want to just gently work it. Make sure it is nice and flexible. And make sure it'll lie flat. All right, there we go. There's our cover. All right, so we have our large cover, we have our small cover done, and now we are going to move on to the next step.